Hey, listener, guess what starts today and runs until July 5th? Romancing the Vote 2024.
Okay, y'all, we are donating a guest spot, okay? If you want to be a guest on Heaving Bosoms and you're not part of the Patreon, you can go to Romancing the Vote and bid on being a guest.
So this year, we're raising money for Fair Fight and Vote Riders.
Yeah. And y'all know where we are on the political spectrum, but what I like about this is that it's not a party thing. These organizations are just to get people to the polls and be able to cast their vote, because democracy dies if not every citizen has the right to vote.
And specifically, Fair Fight says that you deserve the opportunity to make your voice heard and be fairly represented. And Vote Riders is an organization that helps voters get their IDs because you need an ID at the poll.
Yeah. So go to Romancing the Vote and start bidding.
There's going to be all sorts of amazing things there.
Yeah. One more thing. If there is a bid war at the end, we'll give you the opportunity for both of you to come on. Okay. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
I'm Melody Carlisle.
And I'm Sabrina Bradley.
And this is Heaving Bosoms. This is the podcast where best friends recap romance novels and other kissing media that makes us swoon, snark, and refills our cups.
Whether you've read the book or are coming in blind, we'll lay bare every delicious scene and revel in the tropes and subgenres that make romance amazing.
All right, listener, strap in and strap on. Headphones are highly recommended.
Listener, so I had a trip with my busy Romnivores co-hosts last week, and I had a fantastic time. Melody, I have to tell you about the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Please.
What I'm getting to is because of the trip, we didn't talk at all last week. And I know that we've mentioned on pod how Melody sometimes just doesn't respond. In fact, quite frequently just doesn't respond to things. And
it's
she still didn't respond to everything that I sent her over the last 2 weeks, but I did get a constant flow of her life, and it was honestly beautiful. I was just getting random little tidbits. What did you call it? Pebbling?
Pebbling, yeah. I just learned there's this, I saw a video by this neurodivergence educator on Instagram called, I think it's @Brains and Spoons or something like that. And she was talking about how one of her neurodivergent love languages is pebbling, like penguins do. And I learned since then that it's not a new concept. It's just new to me. But it's penguins will present pebbles to other penguins that they're interested in being romantic with and mating for life. And so anytime that I'll just send a random picture, or I'll send a random Instagram reel or whatever,
and
doing that, sending people memes. Yeah, is pebbling.
It would honestly,
and apparently that's all I'm capable of right now.
It made my day though, because randomly I would pick up my phone and I'd be like, "Oh look, there's another Melody. This is 4 days in a row. What is happening?"
I know, I was being a needy bitch.
I loved it because I have to stop myself from being a needy bitch because it makes me feel overwhelming. And so this was just the green flag that I needed to just start sending you random, even more just random shit.
Totally. Absolutely.
Did I send you the silence bank
you
account
meme?
Silence bank. What did it even say? Silence bank
account.
Little treat is talking. Little treat is
little
speaking.
Treat.
Which I love a little treat. I have a lot of big treats coming up, so I have to hold back on the little treats. But I loved that meme so much. You know what? I'm probably just gonna put it on our Instagram too. because I'm
You
just going
should.
to shamelessly steal it from, I think I got it from Tumblr. And
Nice.
it's going on our Instagram too, because I saw it and I was like, I have never, unfortunately, felt more seen in my
Right?
entire life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love a little treat.
I love a little treat. And the problem is that with my sometimes issues with object permanence is that I forget about the little treats that I've already given myself.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
then little treats turn into deluge of treats. And nobody needs that. That's just treat lifestyle. And like that doesn't help.
At this point, this is a new lifestyle choice instead of just a little treat to brighten your day. Yeah, I feel
Oh my God.
that.
But I also feel like, okay, I'm trying not to be rude about this because I did enjoy book, but it was so different from anything that I've been reading lately or like, read in general.
Yeah.
It was just like it was a big shift. You know what I mean?
Yes. Same for me though, because this is very, very different from what I've been reading lately. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh God, all I want to do is read that though.
I know. Oh my God. But before we do that, you're right.
have patrons.
We have patrons that I can't wait to shout out. So, oh my gosh. Thank you so much to everybody who came to the M.A. Wardell event. I mean, I'm obsessed with him. And I just read Napkins and Other Distractions. And like,
God,
I can't say enough
I'm so
good
excited
things about
for it.
Yeah, I had to trigger warn Sabrina hard, but that's okay. And he's been putting out what some other author coined a dictionary for his books. And it's a DICK-tionary.
I'm obsessed with this idea.
It's brilliant.
Like,
it's brilliant. Everybody needs to do it.
Yeah, this is amazing.
It's a short list of like what the sex acts are in different chapters. And so it'll be like chapter 8, there's a masturbation scene. Chapter 19, it's
Shower
a foot
sex.
and shower scene. Yeah. Foot and oral play or whatever. Yeah, it's fantastic. So check out his Instagram as well.
I was so curious what you were sending me. So Melody was warning me feet because we all know I don't like feet, but also like
Right.
It's M.A. Wardell.
But
So
she loves M.A. Wardell.
I'm going to read it and love it. I'm just going to be like, a couple of times, probably.
Listener, I told her that she'll probably be okay because there's enough praise kink in there to make up for literally anything, in my humble opinion.
You know what? That sounds perfect. But yeah, she sent me this Instagram link and I was like, what the hell is this? And I opened it up and it was a dictionary. I was like, I swear to God, if this is foot fan art, I'm going to kill Melody. That was my first thought. I thought it was like some like censored foot
Oh my God,
sex
I
fan
would
art.
not do that to you.
I didn't rationally think you would, but like before I swiped, I did open up that Instagram description because I was like, I need to be mentally and emotionally prepared for what I'm about to. I'm gonna look. It's M.A. Wardell, okay? Like, of course I'm gonna look.
Yeah, but it's okay because it was just a spoiler for all of the open door sex scenes. Fan-fucking-tastic.
That is literally. Do you know how many times? Like, do you know how often that would save me from just opening a book and immediately Kindle searching or like Kobo searching or whatever for like words that show up in sex? I'm like, pussy, dick,
thrust,
wet, touch, kiss. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just looking for anything that's going to give me an idea. Because you know how sometimes you get through a book, especially if it's an author that you're used to like a fast burn for or something like that.
Yeah.
And you open up the book and you're like 35% in and you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah, what are we leading to?
Where is this starting? Or it's a brand new author you've never read before and you have no idea. You get 75% of the way through the book and you're like, is this closed door?
Yeah. Yeah. I need to know these things because like I'll still read it probably, but I need to manage my expectations is what I need to do.
If I've already committed myself to like 70 plus of a book, I'm going to finish the book most of the time.
Most of the time, except for those 14 on your Kindle that you haven't? Is it 14?
Those
Sabrina?
haven't been DNF'd. Thank you very much. And there are, I think there's currently 18 of them. And I don't need you to call me out like that.
I'm just coming at her jugular. Oh my God.
You are.
Also, M.A. Wardell was inspired to make his dictionary by at Kayla Writes Life, and it's author Kayla Gross, Grosse, and she writes plus size romance that's very, very hot. So there you go. Okay, listen,
Well,
we have patrons to shout out.
we do.
All right. So, hey, thank you to everyone who has joined the Patreon recently or who is still, active in the Patreon. We are so, so thankful for each and every one of y'all's support. So welcome to Caitlin W. and Shan B.,
To Mwenessi R. and Laura S.
Caroline D. and Tina C.,
To Kate K. and Winnie the Sioux.
Shantae G. and Tisha G.
And LaDanya M. and Christina K. Thank you for
Thank
helping
you.
us make this possible.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. We
Okay, listener.
have a book. I have to say something that I think is going to surprise people, and also I should probably be ashamed of. But this is my very first Nora Roberts novel.
Listener, when I asked Melody last night if she'd ever read a Nora Roberts, and this woman said no, I was like, how have you been a romance reader for this long and never read a Nora Roberts? Like, that's like,
I think I'm just not inspired by her covers at all. I also have not read a Danielle Steele.
I haven't read a Danielle Steele. I own several Danielle Steele because
Interesting.
I bought them from like one of those thrift shop marketplace things where everyone has like a little stall. And so like when I was young and poor, when we would go there shopping, if they had books, I of course I'd go look at things. And I remember Danielle Steele being an author name.
Right.
And I knew Nora Roberts was an author name. And I'm thinking this is back in like 2006, right? So did Goodreads even exist? Like, I didn't know how to find
I have no
romance
idea.
authors.
I don't think so.
At that time. And so I just knew a couple because I happened to pick up a Nora Roberts at some point. And I was like, oh, this has what I want.
There's kissing in this book.
Yeah. And I loved it, but I didn't know what else there was. And now I just I read a lot of not Nora Roberts.
Right. Our horizons have expanded, or I've just been on a totally different path, apparently, for my entire romance reading life. So I really liked Book, but Book was published. Did you say the year you were born, you asshole?
No, that's the other book by Nora Roberts that's on the 5-star rec list. This one came out in 2001, and you can tell because she had a cell phone that wasn't in a briefcase.
Yeah, she did. But it's also like very much of, I think, maybe the time, because this is one of those books in which it's all third person and the perspective will shift paragraph to paragraph and everybody gets a voice.
Yeah.
We're in everybody's head. We're in the kid's head.
Everybody also gets a story.
Oh God, everybody gets a story. Thank goodness the kid doesn't actually get that big of a story. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, but like, we still get like a plot for these people.
We even get the perspectives of like the bit villains in this book. Everybody gets a voice.
Oh, listener, by the way, we're doing the villa, by the way, for Nora Roberts, if you haven't looked at the episode name.
Yeah, and so it's wine times. We're winemakers now.
Mel.
And that's what's going on. Yeah, Sabrina.
I don't know if you remember, but within the last several months, I made a comment about how I don't remember the last time I actually herbsed.
Oh, yeah.
This was my herbs. I herbsed so much of the wine business. I just didn't care. And this was a 500-page book. And so I was like, I don't need that page and a half of describing
No.
how
And you
grapes
very likely
get
didn't.
pruned.
Right.
This-
Yeah.
So I understand what she was doing. And this is, I'm not going to say a hallmark of Nora Roberts from what I remember, because to be clear, this is a very fuzzy memory. It's been a long time since I've read a Nora Roberts, well over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But she is very descriptive
Yeah.
of things that, frankly, I understand that you're setting the scene, and it does make it a very vivid book, but I could have used probably 50 to 75 pages less of wine descriptions.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would agree with that, especially since there are so many subplots and because there were so many intrigue plot lines that could have used either more description or just
More
not been
fleshing
completely
out.
overshadowed by winemaking and stuff.
Mhm.
It was interesting for the most part, and I really liked it when they flirted over pruning vines. That was
So-
a fun time.
I'll say this. This is definitely a book where the relationships between characters that are not our main romance couples, because to be clear, we do have two separate romances happening at the same time in this book. Like couples getting together,
And another
romances.
established romance that we get a peek into as well.
Yes, because listener, we are discussing the Giambelli family and the Macmillan family. We have 3 generations that matter in the Giambelli family
There's
because
30 of them on each side, okay?
Because
Just buckle up.
to be frank, Gina's children, and I did not remember all of these names because listener, we in the first
I wonder who Gina is.
2 chapters meet
Oh,
approximately
Gina's the guy's wife.
8 gazillion people. And
Yeah.
Gina, technically, I guess there are 4 generations of Giambelli family.
Yeah, if you listen to Gina tell it.
Nobody gives a fuck about that 4th generation because Gina and is that Don's?
Donato. That's Donato. Yeah, Don.
God, I need a family tree, man.
I know. Can I say that they did inspire my favorite line of the book? Because at this family meeting, there is a matriarch who is goals I will never be able to
Teresa.
achieve. Yeah, Teresa. She's like, we're looking at 3 generations of winemakers, and Gina
have the
pops
quote.
in. I'm sure I have it memorized. If I don't,
Okay.
you can read it.
Okay.
But let's try to see if I have it memorized.
You might, because it's
Gina-
killed me.
Gina says, you have 4 generations. My children are going to be winemakers. And then Teresa looks at her and she says, from what I've seen, your kids are more likely to be serial killers than anything else. It's incredible.
And then specifically, she ends with, "Please don't interrupt," because
please don't interrupt. Oh
my God, Teresa is a force to be reckoned with. She's like 73 or something like that,
yeah.
and she is wily and she is smart and she is stern and she doesn't give a fuck as long as you don't fuck with the Giambellis.
Yes, she is very, very goal-oriented, and she is savage about it.
Oh,
So
God.
the premise that the book starts off with is that a long time ago, Teresa Giambelli married, gosh, is it Eli? Good question. Eli
No,
McMillan,
Her
let's say.
first, so she had a first husband though.
No, I know, but can we just
Oh yeah, let's just skip that then.
this 400-page book? Can we skip some stuff?
Yeah. I'm so sorry, listener. Mel even texted me and was like, I need you to cool it on the notes. And
Yeah.
I didn't do well at that. I
She
have
can't.
19 pages of them.
So her second marriage was to a winemaker that's like directly next to them in vineyard land, and his name is Eli McMillan. And so they married, but they continued operating their wineries separately. All of the vineyards, not only McMillan and then Giambelli, California, but then Giambelli, Italy, all 3 are run separately. And so the premise of the book, we find out, is that Teresa calls everybody to a family meeting in California. Yes, Don had to fly in from Italy.
And nobody says no to a summit meeting from
No,
Teresa Giambelli.
no, nobody would dare. And they're going to consolidate all of those companies in order to like bring their business practices up to current times or whatever.
So they're having like a centennial celebration, which I didn't understand this because one winery's been in operation for 150 years and the other has been in operation for like 56 years. And so I don't really understand how that becomes a centennial celebration. I guess it's for, maybe this is technically set in 1999 and so it's for, no, but that'd be a millennial celebration. I did not understand why this was a centennial celebration.
You know what? This is something that I whimsied. I was just like,
Awesome.
great. I don't give a shit.
I couldn't.
We're
Every time they said it, I clocked it and I was like, but how? How though?
Yep. Shockingly, I whimsied math. And you couldn't.
That's fair. That's fair.
So because of all of this, like Dawn, who runs the Italy section, now has to report to an American salesperson who's going to oversee everything. And everybody's super pissed off. Her granddaughter, Sophia, is like the PR maven of the company. And then Eli's grandson, Tyler, is the vintner of Macmillan.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're reorganizing everything. And specifically for Sophia and Tyler, they want each of them to learn each other's jobs. And whoever, if they do a good job, then by the end of the year, they each own 20% of this mega billions company.
Yes. And so everyone is so mad because Don was fully expecting to get his shit, like it was going to be passed down to him. Tony, Sophia's father, was fully expecting the winery to be passed down to him. The one in California.
I mean, I think he knew the score a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, Tony and Pilar have been married in name only, basically, for like 15 years, something like that.
So they've only been married
years?
in name only for like 20, like basically their whole marriage. He started stepping out on her and she knew it way early in their marriage. And then they've been legally separated for like 7 years. Yeah.
So Teresa is like, you can keep your title and you can keep your job, but don't think you're getting, like, there's no more
handouts,
upward mobility for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she basically says, if you all haven't shaped up in the next year, by the time this contract is done for the kiddos, then you're out.
Yeah, she says that to Dawn and Tony. So Dawn, one of my favorite things, he says, I've been with the company for 18 years. And she says, you've been working for 12. You've been showing up for 18. And I'm like, oh, that's tough. That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so all of this is happening. And Sophia, I think, sums it up really well by saying that she is, in one fell swoop, being given more than she could have ever dreamed of, or certainly more than she would have asked for. But at the same time, she's being slapped down a peg because they're like, you've been neglecting your heritage. You don't know how to make wine. You don't know anything about the vines
you just
and
know
the
how
outdoors.
To sell it.
Right. And Tyler is like, I don't want to be anywhere but with the vines. I don't give a shit who drinks the wine.
Grumpy, antisocial asshole.
Yeah, I love him. I love him. Okay, so she also says that Pilar needs to be an active member of the company where she hasn't been up until this point. And she's like, Mom, you know that I don't know what a fax machine is. Like, you had me be your personal assistant for a little while when I was young, and then you fired me because I was terrible at it. And she's like, Pilar, you've got a good brain. She literally says, your brain is good. You can do it.
Mm-hmm. And we do find out over the course of the book, Pilar does have a good brain for other things because she, in fact, cannot do. And so we actually end up finding out that the reason Teresa did this was because she essentially knew, like, she hoped that Pilar would step up to this challenge, but part of her knew she wasn't going to be able to do it, but she wanted Pilar to stand up for herself and be like, fuck you. I'll do what I'm
go
good
fuck yourself.
at. And I was like, Teresa, that's manipulative as fuck.
I mean, she's a mastermind. And like I said, she's goals that I will never, ever be able to achieve for so many reasons.
Oh, no.
For example, they're talking about how Sophia got there late last night, and she's like, I wonder what kept her, because she should have been here yesterday afternoon. And they're like, well, she visited her dad, and I bet he's now going to come to the summit. And she's like, that's exactly what I wanted to happen, because he didn't earn her loyalty, but she does give it to him.
She's a chess master.
Yes, absolutely. And he has the audacity to show up with his newest girlfriend of 2 years, who is now the fiance. And the rock is like the size of a satellite. And Renee, the fiance, pushes him to go and take Pilar aside and ask for a formal divorce. So that happens at this meeting as well. We also meet their goddamn lawyer, who is like family friends with everyone. We know her. We know her husband.
Judge
we know how
Helen.
her marriage is. Yeah, we know her son, who is shockingly a bigger character than anybody thought he would be.
Okay. Mel, I cannot wait to get to this ending and talk to you about the ending.
Good God. So for a while, we're ping-ponging throughout the brains of everyone. Oh, because Teresa is also bringing on a COO to help everybody like come
from
together.
The competition too. She straight up hired him directly from their direct competition. And he moved because we also meet his kids. We get to know them real well. And he came because his kids were getting into trouble and blah, blah, blah. And so now he's here, but nobody has met him yet.
He's a single divorced dad. And that's very important for reasons. He's like 43. Pilar is 48. And I dug it.
That's important.
So for a while, we're going to ping pong through everybody's brains and start picking up like crumbs of intrigue plot lines.
To be clear, this is not going to be a typical Zippy Zap, though, because we can't. Because Zippy Zap...
because I'll Zippy Zap in a sentence. In one single sentence, I will Zippy Zap.
Yeah.
So in the first week or so, we watch Sophia and Tyler have to start working together. So Sophia goes early in the morning, the next morning to go help with the pruning.
He has to call her to wake her ass up. She's like, it's still dark outside. And he's like, it's raining. Get on your dirty clothes. And she comes
it's just
out.
Overcast.
She comes out and he has already identified her. And we don't know this until later in the book, but he's always been a little bit into this little firecracker, Sophia. Mm-hmm. But when she comes out, she's in like $500 boots, which I couldn't look up the inflation prices because it would have made me sick.
No. 500 makes me a little queasy.
And they were in like fancy pants and like a blazer and all of these things. And he's like,
I told you to wear rough clothes. And she goes, these are my rough clothes. And he's like, well, we got to fix that. Jesus.
They're going to be your rough clothes by the end of the day. Let's go.
Right. So the important thing about this scene is that Tyler is showing her how to prune the vines, hand prune them. And in order to do that, he does have to basically come, do I'm going to show you how to play pool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He does the wraparound thing and cuts the vine. And then she can feel his body pressed up against hers. And she's like, oh, this is an interesting development. Mm-hmm. And she turns around and makes sure that she touches her whole body to him while she's turning around.
Well,
and she's like, yeah.
She's like, don't worry, Macmillan. You're not my type. Usually big, rough, elemental. And then he's like, you're not mine. Ever. Sharp, slick, and dangerous. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for them to fall in love with each other.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
And so they have to compromise. And so and this blew my mind because they're compromising by spending half the day at the vineyard and then driving an hour to San Francisco to work in the office. And I'm like, why would this not be a full day experience? That just feels...
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah.
You know what I think it is? I think it might be because we're both neurodivergent and I get appointment paralysis sometimes where I'm like, do I have a 2 p.m. appointment?
Oh my
I cannot
God,
do
you
anything
are so
until
right.
that
This
appointment.
Is a neurodivergence in full blast because she has an apartment still in the city. So it is perfectly reasonable for them to spend the whole day at the vineyard and then leave for at 6 p.m. to go to San Francisco, stay the night, and then work in the office the whole day the next day. But like, I'm out at the vineyard at 8 a.m. and you expect me to be able to do anything until 12:30 when we leave? No, that's
When
not
we're
happening.
leaving?
Because at that point, that's not travel, right? That is still like, that's an
That's
appointment.
just departure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the way my brain works is if we work the whole day here, then we have an hour of travel, but afterwards there's nothing after the hour of travel. So the hour of travel can fluctuate. Hour of travel is a little wishy-washy, wimbly-wombly, and we can move that around if we need to a little bit. If we have shit to do when we get to San Francisco, that is no longer wishy-washy.
No, that's very serious. So anyway, they do. She takes him into the city and they have, I don't know what kind of time. Listen, Nora Roberts is more productive than me for a reason. And even in her books, she's more productive than me. Because once they travel an hour to San Francisco, then they have a publicity meeting where they like outline an entire advertising campaign.
Centennial advertising campaign.
She has a meeting with an underling who like wants to cut her and has wanted to cut her since she started working there 5 years ago because she feels like this is nepotism essentially, which like, Chris, get a new job then. Like, what are you doing? Don't work for a family winery if this bothers you.
If you don't
get
like the
a new
family.
fucking job. Yeah, what are you doing? She's being the worst. Anyway, they do that, and then they go to Armani to spend $10,000 of his dollars on suits and stuff.
Pacing of this book on a day-to-day level stressed me out so much just thinking about it.
Well, it's funny because each of the days feel like 3 days, and then we will travel 2 weeks without talking about it.
2 months. There were a couple of times where it was like 3 months later and I was like,
wait a second, how, when, what? Yeah.
So they get all of their clothes and stuff and now they're headed back to the vineyard, which again, that feels like a waste of time in my brain because why would you drive an hour to San Francisco and then why would you not just stay overnight in San Francisco, work at the office for a half day and then go back to the winery? And I guess it's because pruning season is super important. But like, Tyler, you already admitted that you have a really good team behind you and you can trust them. But most importantly, we meet the new COO and we have our second meet cute of the book because David his name is David Cutter. His children are Theo and Maddie. And he gets to the house to meet Teresa and he knock. And then a beautiful woman holding flowers opens the door, and it's Pilar.
Ooh, hello, Pilar.
Ooh. And Pilar's like, I can't believe that Sabrina can't believe that Teresa was not doing any of this on purpose because she accidentally set up two loves of their life relationships. Like, it was never acknowledged on page, but there's no way Teresa was not like, fingers crossed, Pilar deserves a good man. Because Pilar's making a comment. She's like, I can't believe that my mom snuck a whole family in who are going to be living in our guest house. Because mind you, all 3 generations of these people live in this one villa on the vineyard.
Yeah, Sophia has to move back, essentially. She's been on her own in an apartment, and then she travels a lot for the job. But now they're like, you need to be here so that you can snuggle with the vines and like do your work job at a desk on the villa. And when she opens that door, David Cutter immediately identifies her as the sexiest, most beautiful, dreamiest lady that he's ever seen in his entire life.
This is insta love, listener.
Insta love.
David's in.
To the point that like tonight, he will tell her that he thinks that she's amazing. Let's jump.
Pilar has a nasty phone call literally in the shit middle of the night at like 3 a.m. from Renee, Tony's mistress. And Renee is losing her shit because, quote unquote, Pilar called and talked on the phone real nasty to her. And Pilar's like, I didn't call you. And Renee's like, obviously you did. And all I could think though is caller ID existed in 2000.
Right? Yeah,
Also,
it had to.
y'all have so much money and you are so bougie. There's no way you did not have caller ID on that phone.
No, it would have been the phone that automatically came with caller ID, because at that point you could get like the cordless phones that had the screen that showed you the number, and it was just automatic. You didn't even have to be bougie, I don't think, in 2001 for that. So
yeah,
Pilar is like, I cannot believe this happened. I cannot believe that she woke me up in the middle of the night to abuse me. And I can't believe that Tony shushed me in order to placate her when I know he knows who actually called and cussed out Renee.
And it wasn't
it's
me.
One of his current mistresses that he's
the
cheating
person
on
that
Renee with.
So Pilar, a woman after my own heart, was like, I need a secret cigarette. And so she goes outside and she's wandering through the woods and she is about to light up her illicit cigarette, and then she hears a voice behind her.
No. She says to herself, I'm not 50 or a goddamn virgin. And then David Cutter says from behind her, me neither.
And she freaks out, drops her lighter, and then he, as a former smoker, did the sexiest fucking thing. He picked up that lighter and lit her cigarette for her before giving her back her lighter. Well, I assume he gave her back her lighter and that he's not a lighter thief, bastards. But like, it was real cute. I was like,
Also, she's in a slinky, silky robe, which was very important to me. Although it is winter in like NorCal.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be in a slinky, silky anything outside.
It depends on the night.
February.
No, this is not February. Okay, hang on.
Oh, no, you're right. It's like November.
I thought this was
You're
February, and then they started talking about how Christmas was coming up. And I was like,
yeah, it's November. Sorry.
What? Yeah, it depends on the night, honestly. But they have this little interaction, and he's like, do you want to talk about it? And she's like, no. Yes. And then she does talk about it, and she's like, you're going to find out anyway, because the gossip, it'll be spread. You'll hear it. But me and my husband, we've been separated for 7 years, and he has a mistress, and blah, blah, blah. And David's like,
he just asked me for a divorce. And that's what's happening right now. And I should be fine because we haven't been together for more than a decade. And he's like, and he says, Tony is going to realize what he missed and regret it hard because you are the singular, most sexiest, just
you are gorgeous and interesting and elegant. And she doesn't know what to do with these compliments. And then he's like, so will you get dinner with me soon? And she's like, I couldn't. And he's like, you could. Have a good night. And then he just like fucks off back into the wilderness. Doesn't he?
Meanwhile, he just goes home because he's living in the guest house on the property. And she, meanwhile, in her head is like, forget cobwebs in the vagina. Like, I've got cobwebs on my boobs. I've got cobwebs everywhere.
Well, because she hasn't had sex in her one and only was Tony. So they probably stopped having sex when she was in her mid-20s.
Yeah.
Because they've been together for 30 years. They got together at 18.
Good
Or no,
God.
they got married at 18? I don't know. They've been together a long time.
It all makes me shudder.
Time.
Yeah. And I just feel so like Pilar is such a tragic figure. And I'm so glad that she got this redemption love story, you know, because Pilar, even though her mother Teresa was like very career oriented, very company oriented, everything was about the legacy of the winery and the vineyard. Pilar has only ever wanted to be a mother and a wife and like a homemaker. She only wanted to create that safe space for a family. And she had one child, and then Tony started cheating on her all over the place. And so, like, she thinks her dreams are over now. She thinks she's like passed on the shelf. She's like at the back of the warehouse, you know?
Oh my God, she's in the ground as far as Pilar is concerned.
Yeah, you're right.
And then we do have a zippy zap away from the family because we get our first Intrigue, or maybe it's not the first, but it's one of the first, because there's this douchebag Jerry who I did not make the connection that Jerry was the guy Sophia was about to go on a date with before the summit meeting. And then she had to cancel. And then when I made that connection, I was like, this is twisty and turny. Because to give you some backstory, listener, Jerry's wife slept with Sophia's father. Jerry's wife was one of Tony's mistresses at one point. And Jerry and she broke up and left each other. And then
it was
Jerry
all over the wine scene. Everybody in the wine circles knew about it. And Jerry was humiliated.
Yes. And then he hit on Sophia and she was like, no. And then they just kind of kept up a casual flirtationship for the next however many years. And I was like,
yeah,
Sophia, what are you
Everything
doing?
about it is weird. Yeah. She was probably like 22. I think she's like 27 right now.
Yeah,
she's
26 or 27. And Tyler's like 30 or 31. And God knows how old Jerry is. I have no idea how old Jerry is. It is never mentioned in a way that clicked in my brain. But to be fair, there's also approximately 8.1 gazillion other characters that I'm trying to keep track of right now in my head.
Yeah. And one of the first bits of intrigue that we forgot to tell you about, listener, is that the prologue is an old guy who worked in
Baptiste.
The Italian wine field. Yeah, Signor Baptiste. He died of a heart attack, after drinking out of a very specific bottle of wine.
Hey HBs, there is a must-read romantic historical fantasy novel coming out this month. It's called A Rose by Any Other Name by Mary McMine. And in a starred review, Booklist said it was a fascinating fictional exposé with a touch of mysticism and an LGBTQ twist. From the author of the Book of Gothel comes the lush, magical story behind Shakespeare's sonnets, as told by one of his most famous subjects, the incendiary and mysterious Dark Lady. Here's the description. England, 1591. Rose Ruchet's passion for life runs deep. She loves mead and music, meddles with astrology, and laughs at her mother's warnings to guard her reputation. When Rose's father dies and a noble accuses her and her dear friend Cecily of witchcraft, they flee to the household of respected alchemists in London. But as their bond deepens, their sanctuary begins to feel more like a cage. To escape, they turn to the occult, secretly casting charms and selling astrological advice in the hopes of building a life together. This thriving underground business leads Rose to fair young noble Henry and playwright Will Shakespeare. And so begins a brief, tempestuous, and powerful romance, one filled with secret longings and deep betrayals. In this world of dazzling masks and decadent feasts, where the stars decide futures, Rose will write her own fate instead. In a starred review, Publishers Weekly said, "There's a delightfully impish heroine, a tempestuous erotic connection. Rose's secret romantic devotion to Cecily forms the central love story, but her sensual enthusiasm for and emotional resonance with Will also shines." Y'all, I cannot wait to dig into this sapphic Shakespeare Times audiobook. And I can neither confirm nor deny that Patreon might get a quickie on this one. The book comes out in all formats on July 16th, 2024, so go get your pre-order on through the link in our show notes. Okay, bye!
So, now, Melody.
Yeah.
This is our next big intrigue, and it's Jerry. Jerry something something, and he works for Liqueur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, wow.
Hey, hair flip.
Just a little hair flip.
Get it.
Because the entire book, my notes, I had to just refer to them as the Empire and the competitor.
So he is on the phone with Donato. And
we don't know who he's on the phone with.
Oh, okay. Don't we?
But it's Donato. No, it doesn't say it, because in my notes I was like, who the fuck is this person that he's on the phone with?
Oh.
He's got an inside person.
Yeah, it's an inside person at Giambelli. Apparently, in hindsight, I know that it's Donato. And Donato's being like, I'm ready to go to the next step. And he's like, well, it seems like the situation's changed. You're going to have to bring us something huge if you want to, like, jump ship or whatever. So I'm going to need you to get manifests and plans and reports about the vines, all the business. And let me know. And when you do, I'll pay you.
Well, and specifically, this is when we find out that the person who killed Baptiste, that old man in Italy, is the person who he's on the phone with.
And he says, it was an accident. It's pretty funny.
Wait, hang on. So you listened to the audiobook. Could you hear accents? Was there an accent?
Yes.
When Dawn was... Okay, so I had no hint of who this could possibly be because I didn't listen to the audiobook.
Oh.
It's just...
That's why I knew. Yeah.
Text. I'll bet you money that happens a lot in this book where you got it from context clues of him being like, very heavy Italian accent.
Right.
Whereas I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, damn, y'all.
It could be anybody.
Howdy doodle. I'm a farmer. Like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because Tyler refers to himself as a farmer so many times.
Oh, yeah. Sophia does
so
too. She's like, that big farmer boy, that big farmer man. Anyway, so now we zippy zap from that. It is time for Tyler and Sophia to meet David Cutter. And he and his kids are walking up to the vineyard, and both of them are like, ah, fuck. Well, I'm so sorry. Not they both. Tyler is like, fuck, tourists. I need to go take care of that. And Sophia's like, you're fine. I got like, or no, he actually pawns it off onto her. He's like, hey, Sophia, come here. There's people.
And she's like, how about we go do it together? Because they'll be so much more interested in buying wine if they get like a small little talk from the vintner. And he's like, God, I didn't want to.
That's so fucking accurate. If you have somebody there that's knowledgeable about a thing, we already, you don't even have to be knowledgeable. You just have to be hot with tattoos, frankly. And I'm buying all of your wine. I'm going to bankrupt myself.
Yeah. One time I bought an entire bottle of brandy, even though I was pregnant, because we did a tour of the factory and I learned a lot about it. And so I just bought it for like when I could drink it someday.
Before I moved, I was young. I was probably like 21, 22, just barely legal to drink. And obviously it was Louisiana, so I'd been drinking for years. But I could finally buy my own alcohol. Of note, I was also a super fucking broke college student. And in Louisiana, southern Louisiana, this still boggles my mind 12 years later. You can just walk around Albertsons, and sometimes they have liquor samples. You can get liquor samples. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and they're like little tiny like half shots.
Sure.
And so like when I was last down there for my friend's engagement party, we were walking around Albertsons. I think we ended up tasting like 3 different alcohols and like just little shooters to taste it. I was a broke college student who could not afford a $45 bottle of gin. I also did not at that time in my life like or drink gin.
Oh, God.
And she was so hot.
No.
With tattoos.
Sabrina.
And I'm a flustering mess, and she handed it to me, and I was like on my way out of the store, so I couldn't even just go be an asshole and hide it someplace else in the store. I just walked right into that line, and I bought that bottle of gin.
Oh my God, Sabrina. Oh my God. Apparently, that's your Achilles heel.
It really is. It really is.
Hot and tattoos.
It's a problem.
You're telling thousands of people your Achilles heel right now. Everybody's going to start getting tatted, Sabrina. So that
they
I am
can
not
get you to
that
do
special.
things.
I'm not that special.
How dare you?
I'm
Yes,
not-
you
I'm not-
are.
Listener, I'm telling you right now, I am not special enough for you to go out and get a tattoo for my sake, okay?
Disagree. Melody hard disagrees.
However, if you do want a tattoo and you are super cute,
Yeah.
heavingbosoms@gmail.com.
Sabrina's taking applications, so just know that she's poly. Anyway, so they have to know that by now, right?
So Sabrina, why did you join a romance novel podcast? And I was like, I was trying to get partners,
Yeah.
hot tattooed partners.
What can I say?
That feels like a lot of extra work, Sabrina. It is. This was not the most efficient way to do this.
I haven't even seen the benefit yet.
But I feel like I get a wider reach this way.
I know that they're going to like one of my hobbies.
We already have something in common. Either they like being completely uninvolved but listening to two best friends talk shit at each other, or they like romance novels. Or, if I'm really lucky, they like both.
Yeah.
Also, like, to be frank though, having one or two podcasts, that is truly, in my experience so far, it is the greatest way to weed people out. Because either they're like, oh, awesome, you have two podcasts, or they're like, oh, you're a millennial with a podcast. Interesting. And then from there, it weeds them out even more when they're like, what are both of your podcasts about? Romance novels. And then they're out there like, oh my God, I love romance. Or there's three options. Oh my God, I love romance. Or, oh, that's cool, I don't know anything about romance. Or they're like, you know what? We're not saying it out loud online. You know, the listener doesn't deserve to hear the things that I've heard.
Listener doesn't need that in their life, frankly. This is a place where we all come to meet and be happy about romance novels.
Live and let love, listener.
Yes.
Except for in this book, because there's a lot of murdering that's about to be going down.
Good God. So they meet David Cutter. Tyler doesn't want to be, managed. And he's like, well, we gotta do this or whatever. And now we're going to skip a couple of months to the Christmas party, everybody. That's what we're going to do. So they're having the annual villa Christmas party. And these bougie bitches, they have one party at the winery for regular folks. And then they have another Christmas party in the villa for the elites. And I get it because the villa is actually their house.
So hang on. Mel is making this out to be a lot shittier than it is. So they have a family, the family, because not everyone's going to the winery, right? But this is the easiest way to get literally all 18 billion of your family members in here at once. They all work for the winery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these people are happy to do a transcontinental flight for a single night. Less than a single night. So sometimes some of these people are too busy. Not that Don's actually too busy, but he's going to act too busy before he can go stick it in his wet mistress. But oh my God.
Wow. What was that? I'm not cutting that. I'm not cutting that. It was such a moment of pure delight.
Hated and usually I'm not you're not in a relationship, you're fine. The mistresses in this book,
they're so annoying.
The husbands in this book
they're even worse.
Awful. Because they are this is active home wrecking. This is not, oh, I didn't know, or this is active, I'm stealing your man. I can't believe I said that. You really won't cut that?
No, that was incredible. That was it was such,
no,
it was just so pure.
So
and I know that's a weird thing to say it's pure about, but it was so pure. It was just the truest thing that could come from your soul, the wet mistress.
And the funniest thing is some of the other books I've been reading this week, there's active cheat. The relationship is between a cheater and their mistress.
They're not annoying, Sabrina.
They're not hateful people.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, no, but the villa party is also for, like, industry friends. Like, it's just the elites, okay? I don't know. The people picking the grapes,
Yeah,
they have to be down at the winery.
I've lost the thread. We're moving on.
So anyway, we go through a bunch of people at this party. And, like, Tony, Sophia's dad, comes with Renee, his brand new wife, because the day of the party, they went to the courthouse and got married.
Also, of note, this is the day after he and Pilar are legally divorced.
Yes, yeah. The ink wasn't even dry. And Renee was like, off to the courthouse we go, which is fine. But he also didn't warn anybody. He didn't anything. Renee just got to show up and be like, oh no, I'm Aunt
also,
whoever.
Of note, Tony and Renee were not invited to the elite party. They were left in the winery.
This is what I'm saying. And Renee goes after Pilar. Pilar has bought a revenge ring.
We find out that Tony's other mistress, his mistress on Renee, is Chris, the lady from the job.
The hateful one.
Sophia was like, if you don't want to be here, then go.
Right. She was like, be a professional. That's what I need you to do. Yeah, so that's who he's currently having an affair with. And so Sophia goes over and reads him the riot act, and it's just like, I'm done with you. I have tried, but you're not even trying to be my dad anymore. Tony and Renee go up and see Pilar as right after David walks up to her. And so Renee is trying to, like, send barbs at Pilar, being like, oh, you really should go where there's sun because you're looking a little peaked. And David jumps in and he's like, I was actually just thinking how vital just the vitality that's coming off of her and, like, magnetic animal sex waves, That's what I was thinking.
Pilar's like, ooh, I can see the boardroom in him right now.
And also, their property is defaced. We don't know by whom. It's a whole thing. It's a whole shit show of a night.
Were the angels weird to you?
The angels were weird as fuck.
So, listener, there's 3 angel statues, I guess. I thought that they were like murals, but no, they were little statues that you could carry around, all 3 of them in your arms. And they're all angel statues except the face of each statue is Teresa, Pilar, and Sophia. And you always get one on, like, what, your 12th birthday or something?
Yeah, you get to be the newest angel.
And then it's just, like, in a place of prominence. And that was when I went, oh, that's what I truly went. Oh, these people are that kind of rich.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we will get a carving in your visage, or with your visage, I guess is a better way to say that. But
only if you matter, because Gina, fuck your children.
Fuck your children, Gina. They're little serial killers. Everybody knows it.
But yeah, so they get defaced, but before, hang on, ma'am.
Yeah. Please tell
before
them.
they get defaced, this is very important. So she goes off on her dad. And then Sophia is, like, stomping over. She's about to go off on Chris in front of all these people. And Tyler just swoops in and pulls her out of the room. He's like, nope. We're meandering away because only a couple of people heard you talk to your dad. But everyone's going to hear if you go talk to Chris. And so they walk away. And then he takes her into a random closet to, like, calm her down. And I'm just like, get her out of the house. Take her up to the house.
Right?
What? But, like, I'm
not
mad about it for romance reasons. Because they get in that room and they've already danced. And they both got a little hot.
Yeah.
They're in the little dancey dance. And then they're in this closet and she made a pass at him. That's what it is. She made a pass at him while they were dancing.
Well, I'm sorry. I just have to make sure we know exactly what he says to her, because she says, what are you thinking about doing right now? Because she says, what do you do outside of work?
And he says, is there anything else? And she's like, okay, fine. What are you thinking about doing right now? And he's like, taking you home and undressing you and seeing if you smell how you taste. No, taste how you smell. That's the one it is.
Yes, you're right. And then she's like, well, she's like, good, let's do it.
Yeah. Like, put your money where your mouth is.
And then all of the stuff happens. And then he scoots her out of the room. They're in this stock room. Wait, I'm sorry. There's not a stock room. This is too bougie for that. They're in a different random tiny room, okay? It's probably called something else, like a larder. So
it probably has like double doors on it, you know? Yeah.
And so they're in there, and then she's like, you can take my mind off of things. And he basically calls her a cheap slut.
Yeah, he's like, anybody else will take you up on that. And she's like, why do you keep on doing that? Why do you not like a woman who thinks about sex like a man? And he's like, no, that's not, it has nothing to do with it. And then he admits that, like, he's always been drawn to her, and it's by the skin of his teeth that he's been able to keep his hands off of her, basically.
And then she jumps on him and makes out with him, because why the fuck wouldn't you after hearing something like that?
Of course.
And now it completely shuts his brain off. He's got a hard on. They're, like, grinding on each other. And then she, like, pulls away and she's like, enjoy that tonight, sucker. And then walks out of the room, and I was like, fuck yeah, Sophia, you deserve better than that shit. Because I was like,
exactly. Don't slut shame her.
You're gonna have to redeem yourself, Tyler.
Hard.
And like, it takes a while. But then when she walks out, there's bitch 1, bitch 2, and bitch number 3 drawn in nail polish on these Giambelli angels. I still can't get over how fucking weird that is.
So after she sees this defacement, she's like, oh my God, I have to take care of this. And Tyler's like, let me be big man and help. And she's like, I take care of my own stuff. So she like gets nail polish remover. It's fine. But now the party's over and Tony has scheduled an assignation of some sort. Sophia's dad is using her apartment and inviting someone over in order to blackmail them for something.
I hated this so much because the thought of somebody using my house without my knowledge gives me the squick so fucking hard.
And can you imagine finding out? Because Sophia finds out later that like every single time she went abroad, he would bring Chris there. He would bring her employee there and fuck her and her house.
Sir, that crosses. You've already been a nightmare father for 27 years. Finding this out is this is the final straw.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so he has this assignation, and he's like, I'm going to make them regret cutting me loose, blah, 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 blah. So I have a question.
Okay.
Who, tonight, did you think he was meeting with?
I had literally no idea.
Okay, my guess was Jerry. I was wrong. Hella wrong.
Very wrong. I thought
it was Jerry.
But the wine and cheese gave me pause. Because he sets it up like a date, basically.
Oh.
So I was like, I think it's probably a lady.
I was just thinking it was a bougie, rich winery person thing to pull out cheese.
I think that's totally fair, too. I think that's completely fair.
I think that Jerry would have been offended and less likely to give him any money or help if he hadn't been offered brie and wine.
If there wasn't brie, I agree.
So we zippy zap. We're in part 2 of this book. She and Tyler have gone into the city to pick up some stuff from her apartment and play damage control because her father has been missing in action for days, and they have to like fly out to take care of something that he dropped the ball on. Nobody can get through to him. Renee won't let her through to him. She's like, fuck you. And then they get to her apartment and they open the door. And immediately Tyler tries to shove her back out and succeeds, but not before they both see Tony sitting in an armchair with a bullet in his chest. He's been dead.
Yeah, he got killed at that assignation. So she has to like talk to the police. We get both of the police's perspectives. We get in their brain sickles.
Oh my God, I forgot
quite a few
about
times.
That.
Wow.
Not then just their brain sickles. There's
what?
the Italian detective later, too. Can we get out of these people's brains?
I forgot about the Italian detective. Hilarious. So she has to go home and tell her mom and grandmother that her father is dead and that they're very likely going to be questioned because all of them had, like, a reason to be mad at him.
Oh, yeah. This is Clue. 10,000%. This is Christmas murder mystery party.
Yes, absolutely. So then we get, like, a scene where the detectives do, in fact, come and talk to Pilar and Teresa, and Helen is there as they're like, if they need a lawyer, I do have a law degree kind of situation. She's a sitting judge. But anyway, at this point, Pilar has realized that, yeah, she will go out with David Cutter. She's like, that phone call in the middle of the night really changed my whole outlook on everything. And now I think I'm ready to go out with David Cutter. So he takes her to dinner. Did I skip a bunch? Sabrina's got a look on her face.
I'm trying to catch up to where you are because there's a lot happening right now that we can sum up really quickly. But I don't even see... Hang on, let me catch up to where
Is it not on this page?
It's like chapters from now.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So we end up seeing Pilar and Sophia. Sophia decides to go to the police station because nobody's answering her questions, and she runs into Renee, and Renee is like losing her mind and shit. She's like, I need a restraining order and all of these things. And Tyler is there with her, and now Renee is in front of cops threatening Sophia, and we then zippy zap to Pilar feeling like an absolute useless little turd to Sophia. She is frankly a terrible assistant. And this was so fucked up. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the family in this meeting, because there's been so much going on. We have jumped forward, by the way, like a month from what happened.
Oh, yeah.
And like maybe 2 months. And they're in this like check-in meeting that they haven't been able to do because Eli's been sick. And that was a red herring as fuck. There's a lot of red herrings.
Yeah, what was that?
So they had to hold off on this meeting. I literally think that's the entire point of that plot point that took 2 pages to explain, is that's why it took them 2 months. And I was like, Nora, why? You know, no, I'm not on a first name basis with Nora Roberts.
Yeah, Ms. Roberts.
Ms. Roberts.
Queen Roberts.
So they're in this meeting and everybody is shitting on Pilar like, yeah, you do really suck at what you're doing. Everybody, Tyler, Sophia, Teresa, David even, they're like, yeah, you really suck at what we asked you to do. And Pilar's like, all right, well, get fucked. And she stands up for herself for the first time in her entire fucking life to the family and storms out.
And she quits.
Yeah. And David goes after her.
Notably, David didn't just say she sucks at this. He's like, she sucks at this thing, but she's great with people. She is family. Like, she knows the business. She knows the wine. She knows the history. She should be in a public-facing role. We should not have her trying to, like, send emails. You know? We should have her doing other shit. And so Pilar is like, I quit. I'm leaving.
Well, and he reiterates that to her when he chases after her, and he's like,
where did they go, Sabrina?
Charming.
I ask you, where did they go? It was important to me, Melody. Where is her safe place, Sabrina?
The greenhouse.
It's her greenhouse.
I'm going to be really honest with you, Melody. Usually I clock shit like that, and I think of you. There was too much going on in this book.
I hear you.
But she's in her greenhouse, and he's like, being charming is a skill, and elegant and peoply as a talent. And now they're making out.
And he's like, and I'm gonna show you just how much I think you're wonderful. And he like lifts her up onto the potting station. Okay.
David Cutter, good job.
Good work.
And they're
like,
making out.
No, we couldn't. Oh, I couldn't possibly. And he's like, I'm taking you to dinner tomorrow, 7:00. And she's like,
and then just leaves. And on his way out, he's not looking where he's going. Sophia's not looking where she's going. And they bump into each other. And she's like, oh, I wasn't expecting to see you here. And he basically looks her dead in the face and says, I want to fuck your mom. I think your mom is beautiful. I'm going to dinner with her. I hope you don't have a problem with that. And then just stomps off. And Sophia's like, sir, what the actual fuck? And then she goes to check out her mom. And her mom's like, oh, but I couldn't. And Sophia's like, you should take condoms. And of course, Pilar is dainty. And she's like, no, I could never. I could never. And Sophia's like, yeah, you're right. You can't take a condom. Take 2. And I was like, Sophia.
I loved it.
I do love how sex positive Sophia is, because she's just this whole family, frankly, because even though Pilar is like, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, she's supporting Sophia, Teresa's supporting everybody. It was really beautiful, and frankly, not exactly what I would have expected out of a book from 2001.
Hell yeah. I liked it. All right, so now can we cut to them figuring out there's problems with the business? I know a lot happens. They go on a date. It goes really well. There's another day when she's trying to woo, Pilar is trying to woo his children, the teenagers. And so she like goes over to cook for them and stuff. She has a heart-to-heart with Maddie, being like, you're the woman of the house and I'm not trying to usurp you or anything. There's a plot line where Pilar is worried because she's 48 and he's 43 and like she doesn't look like a 22-year-old anymore.
So
and then
there's a cute scene between Sophia and Tyler when they're like testing wine, and then they get a little like flirty with each other. Now the detectives are looking at David Cutter, and this is when we find out, and I think this is where you were jumping to. Tony had been siphoning money and embezzling from the company for years, and that's how his entire lifestyle was floating. And I was like, sir.
Yeah, he had a salary, he was periodically blackmailing people, and he was embezzling from the company. And every once in a while, he would get a bump from Pilar for something. Mm-hmm. Like, this guy is a mess, and he really misrepresented himself to Renee. There's a plot point where she's, like, figuring out what her reality is financially as the widow, and she's not
because he's
pleased.
Dead. No, she's not, because she thought that all of this money was his. Valid, like in a valid way. It was not, listener. It was definitely not. Then Sophia finds out about it, and there was just a scene very important to me because she gets all pissed off and shows up at Tyler's house and opens a bottle of wine and just starts chugging wine, and he's like, what the fuck is wrong? And she tells him about what happened with the embezzling, and she's like, I want to get drunk and get laid. And Tyler's like, I'm not doing that with you, because when I'm in your bed, I mean, he may not say it here, but at some point in the book, he's like, when I'm the one in your bed, you're going to know it's me.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be another man, another conquest. And she's like, well, fine, fuck you, and goes storming off. And he like grabs onto her arm, and she turns around and immediately starts sobbing before she can even respond. And he just scoops her up and goes and sits on the couch. And instead of like ta-taing her and like rocking her and like telling her platitudes and things like that, like I would desperately, because like if I just was just sitting on somebody's lap stoically sobbing, that'd be worse. That'd be terrible for me.
It's weird.
But it was perfect for her.
And that's why they're perfect for each other.
Frankly, yeah. Because he is like, man, you want to talk about a stoic hero. That's Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
So then, God, we get introduced to another person, Margaret.
No.
She's also from Italy. And she shows up at Tyler's house, and she's always wanted to sleep with Tyler. And she's like gone on a couple of quote unquote dates with him that she considers dates, but he's like, I just got dinner with a business partner. Like,
he thought they were business meetings. Date. Oh, Margaret.
Yeah. And then she convinces him to come over the next day for a drink, like for dinner, basically a quote unquote business dinner. But she is fully planned that this is going to be a huge seduction.
Meanwhile, we have skipped this, but I do just want to say that Maddie, the 14-year-old daughter, has become pretty close with Tyler because she's a science nerd. She wants to know how everything works.
Are you talking about the kitchen wine?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And so she's like, I'm going to do an experiment because, like, this guy says that wine is a miracle, but I think it's science. And he's like, it's both. And she's like, well, I'm going to do one where I just leave grapes in a bowl and the other one where I, like, add sugar and other shit to it. And you can help me. And so when Margaret walks in to ask him on this not date, Maddie is trying to convince him to put her kitchen counter wine into the flight of tastings.
At a wine tasting
for like rich customers. And he does it.
Well, he tastes it and he's like, that's wine.
Yeah.
Technically, this is sweet and acidic and terrible, but you made kitchen wine, Maddie. I'm so proud of you.
You did it. Yeah. And so then Maddie's like, she's hitting on you. And he's like, what? No way is she doing that. And Maddie's like, yeah, get a clue.
Well, Maddie is 14 years old, and the whole book through, she's like, I know how women are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, from what women? Your mom's been gone since you were like 9.
Yeah. No, she is a woman. She's so precocious. God. It's adorable.
Yeah. I really liked Maddie as a side character.
Me too, yeah. So now there's one point when Pilar goes over to the guest house thinking she's going to run into the kids, but David's home. And she's like, oh, I was going to come bring you stuff for the kids. And he's like, but I'm here now. And then he says, we have a whole house to ourselves. Whatever could we do with the hour and a half you have until your next wine? Oh, because they put Pilar in charge of doing the tours for the public. And it's perfect
and wine
for her.
Tastings. Like, it's basically hosting as a job.
Which is what she's good at. She loves it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he's like, what are we going to do? Yes, Sabrina. What?
No, finish what you're saying, and then I'll tell you what I'm...
Okay. So she's like, oh, David, we couldn't. And then he's like, no, we definitely should. Like, I wanted you since the moment I saw you. And she's like,
I live with my kids, and you live with your mom.
Yeah, we have to jump at the opportunity, and it's now. And she's like, but David, I'm not 20 years old. And he's like, I'm not either. Let's go. She was like, no, David, And then he's like, Pilar, you're beautiful. And you're exactly the woman that I want. I don't want a 20-year-old. I want you. And so let's go do it with the lights on, Like, let's do that now.
And she's like, but I have cobwebs everywhere. And he's like, I have a feather duster. Let's go.
That's right.
And it's on TM, and it was really beautiful. It was a little montage-y sex scene, and it was just really wonderful.
It was nice.
And I loved it. Importantly, you missed something, because Sophia and Tyler are in her office figuring out, like, their upcoming plans, and then out of fucking nowhere, she, like, gets real close to him and pecks him on the mouth. I don't remember why. And he goes feral. He pulls her onto his lap, and now they're, like, hardcore making out. And then they're on the floor, and, like, he's pulled her shirt open, and they're about to fuck on her office floor. And then his grandpa Eli walks in, and Tyler has to go do some damage control. And this is one of my favorite quotes in the entire fucking book.
Oh, yes, please.
Because Tyler goes out after Eli, and he's like, I'm so sorry. And his grandpa's just wandering the vineyards. And Tyler's like, and like, he's just acting cool, like nothing happened. And Tyler's like, I shouldn't, I'm so, and Eli is like, is it love? And Tyler's like, Grandpa, it's not always about love. And Eli said, my equipment may be older than yours, boy, but it works the same way. I know it's not always about love. I was just asking. And he's like, we've got this heat going on. That's all. If it's all the same to you, I'd rather not go into that end of things. And he says, oh, it's all the same to me. You're both adults and you got 2 working brains between you. Both of you are raised right, so what you do is your own business. Next time, though, lock the damn door. And I was
lock the door, you dummies.
I love you, Eli. I just fucking loved it. He's like, I got a dick too, man. Like,
yeah,
I may be 75 years
old.
old. We learned that Eli and Teresa still get around.
He's 10 years older than Teresa, which means that he's 83. Years? I think so.
Oh my God. I'm
obsessed.
Old people with a great sex life.
Agreed. Well, so then we see a conversation between Eli and Teresa has the audacity to be like, oh, I never saw this coming. Wow, we thought they would, like, fight and then, like, get to know each other, coworker-wise. And I'm like, no, stop it. You see everything else happening. Not. But you didn't see that coming? Please, Teresa. Like, don't insult my intelligence.
Don't play with me. And then, it's like the next day or something like that. And Tyler he forgot he was supposed to go to dinner with Margaret. And he calls to cancel on her.
He's like, he still has the boner from Sophia.
That's the alibi. You're right. So it's the
Yeah.
same day. He cancels like an hour before dinner, which, like, you don't know that this is a sex date, bud. This is a business meeting as far as you're concerned. I was shocked that he canceled like
Agreed.
that. But anyway, he did. He leaves a voicemail. We are now in her head because, don't worry, we're in all the heads. And she's like so mad about it, and she decides to sit down, and she's still going to drink that bottle of wine. And so she drinks a whole bottle of wine. And the minute she started drinking that wine, because that's how Baptiste died. We know that Baptiste died from drinking wine, and we find out it's because he had a weak heart and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole thing. We'll get into it. Maybe we won't. Long story short, she started drinking that wine, and I was like,
because it's a special bottle of Merlot that she brought back from Italy.
Margaret's going down.
Margaret's going down, and she does. Goodbye, Margaret.
Yep.
So then they go into the office in San Francisco, and she has a conversation with Chris, and finally ends up just firing her. Because she's being completely insubordinate. She's not doing her job. She's not helping. She's got a piss-poor attitude that doesn't help anybody in the office. And while they're there, that's when they find out that Margaret is dead. Because Tyler wants to go, like, up to her office to apologize to her. So he calls her cell phone, and one of the detectives answers. And so he's like, yeah, I think we're probably going to have a chat about this. So then they get interviewed by the police for Margaret's death. And they're like, so you had an hour. You definitely could have made it or, like, been a little late. And he's like, well, I didn't want to. And they're like, that's weird. I wonder why. Is it because you sent her the wine with the digitalis in it? Yeah, that's foxglove poison, listener. Oh, yeah. That's what that is. That's what everybody's dying from, is flower poison, okay?
Well, listener, if I ever die of digitalis, we know where it came from. With the excitement that Melody has.
Yeah. You can get people with oleander too.
I'll watch myself.
You better. So anyway, finally, Sophia's like, David, come on. We should tell them that we were rolling on the floor together, doing a big Humpty Hump. And that's why you probably weren't in the mood to drive an hour to have dinner with another woman. And Tyler's like, oh, don't say it. And it's the most.
Yeah. So now it's time for damage control. And instead of Teresa and Eli going out to Italy, because Margaret was from the Italy vineyard, and they send Tyler and Sophia, they end up getting there. He manhandles her around a little bit emotionally and mentally. So he ends up like basically forcing her out to the Castello because she was like avoiding him. So they end up going out to the vineyard, and they're wandering around the vineyard, and she's like, oh my God, my roots. And she feels all of these feelings. And
then they bone down.
Is this where they bone down for the first time? Is it in Italy? No. They are back in California for this. When did they come back from California? Doesn't fucking matter. So they have gone to Italy. They found a bunch of information. They get back, and he's about to get out of his house and go get her. And then she's already storming up to his house, and they just go at it. They don't even make it up the stairs, listener. They're in like the stairwell, and it's on TM, and it was great. It was wonderful. And it's a big old montage. I have a bunch of quotes about how good they were in bed together, and guess what? We don't have time for it, so we're cruising.
No. Well, one of the things they found out in Italy is that Donato was hosting like private parties, sort of. He was hosting these like trips for Tony, Sophia's dad, and Chris, Sophia's employee, and Jerry, the guy from their competitor Liqueur. And so now they're thinking that they were in some sort of plot together. They know that Tony's been embezzling, and now they're going to take a closer look at Donato. So when they come back, they share all of this, and then David goes to Italy to do some accounting. What?
That does happen, but there's just one scene I have to talk about. I don't care if we can't get to all of the intrigue. Because you know what, frankly, honestly, we can sum that up in 5 minutes at the end, but there's a lot of really fun scenes that are coming up.
Yeah.
So on Sophia's way back to her house at 2 a.m. after like a 5-hour fuck-a-thon, she runs into her mom, and then they get into they sneak into the house together, and they are basically talking like objectifying their men because Sophia's like, David's very hot. And she's like, Sophie. And she's like, very hot, great shoulders. And like some more talking. And at one point, Pilar's like, he's got a terrific butt. And she's like, I know. And she's like, I meant Ty. And Pilar's like, I know. And so they're basically gossiping and just having a delightful time objectifying their men. And it's adorable. And then Grandma Teresa walks in and she's like, oh my God. Or they're like, oh my God, Grandma's here. Mom is here.
Yeah.
And Teresa's like, well, I love a bit of pie after sex. Cut me a slice. And everyone's like, go Eli! And now it's just all three generations gossiping together and having a great time drinking wine and pie after fuckathons. And it was adorable.
It's great. It's so cute. Yeah. She's like 3 generations of Giambelli women getting laid.
Yeah. And then we find out some more. Renee's been going on talk shows and slandering people all over the place. Tyler, at this point, has realized that, yes, I'm still here. Squadcast, what the fuck?
Oh, God.
Tyler has realized that he's hopelessly in love with her at this point, and he's like...
He wants Sophia forever. That's what he knows.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, they've decided to do this black tie ball thing. It really doesn't... I don't think anything... I know important stuff happens, but not like... I don't know that we need to get into it.
The only 2 things that super happen are, at one point, Helen and Pilar have a conversation about how Sophia and Link are basically siblings. And then Helen's like, ha, 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 and we're not different. And then at this one, James tells Sophia, go over and say hi to Link and convince him to marry you this time. And Helen's like, James, like, stop it right now. And then Sophia, after having a fight, I know, right?
I should have guessed.
I know, me too.
I just thought it was, like, it made sense why they wouldn't get together. They were basically raised as siblings.
Yeah.
But
so anyway,
I
know. There were breadcrumbs that I didn't know about until the second listen.
Oh
anyway,
my God.
Yeah. Then Sophia breaks up a fight between Don and his fishwife Gina. And then she's going to look for people, and then...
Did you just make a Fishbowl Jamie reference?
No, I said fishwife. My mom used to say, if I was, like, not listening or whatever, she'd be like, Melody, you're making me yell like a fishwife.
I mean, frankly, I feel like if anybody is the Fishbowl Jamie in this book, though, it's Gina.
It's Gina, yeah. So when she's back in her room, Sophia gets pushed, and she gets, like, conked on the head. Tyler finds her later after Teresa is like, yeah, go find my granddaughter and distract her for a few hours. And so he finds her. They turn on the lights. Oh, because he's tending to her. He's checking all of her wounds. And then by the end of it, he puts his forehead against hers and he goes, scared me. Like, you really scared me. Don't get hurt like that again. Oh, it's so cute. And then they turn on the lights and in lipstick or something on the mirror, it says bitch number 3. So then they're like, obviously things have been defaced. Obviously I was pushed. The police get involved again.
Now they're assuming that it's Chris doing it. And we did not talk about this, but there's been like threatening ads being sent to her. And they think that it's Chris doing it. I honestly don't remember who was doing it at this point because there's just too much. So then later, just a small important note, Eli and Teresa are on their normal morning walk after all of this has been taken care of. And they're all glad that because bitch 1 and bitch 2 were on grandma and mom's mirrors as well. And they're like, it wasn't that bad because it was Sophia who got caught and pushed. But like, this could have been death if it had been Teresa. So he tells her that he wants to retire. And she's like still pushing back on that. They end up having a wonderful dinner and things like that. We see some
David
family
goes to
times.
Italy.
Thank you.
That's what happens.
Exactly what. That's the next thing I was about to say. So David goes to Italy because now he has suspicions about Dawn. He gets there, talks to the accountant for the Italian place, and confirmation because the account that Dawn puts a ton of money on doesn't exist. It's all a
people
front.
don't exist. It was a way for him to siphon $10 million into his personal accounts.
So then he calls Dawn in and he confronts Dawn. But before he does this, he gets Teresa's permission, and Teresa's like, because obviously Dawn's like, I am Giambelli. You, like, I'm gonna stay. How could you? Blah, blah, blah. And Teresa's like, no, that's not how this is gonna work. You have 48 hours to explain what the fuck is happening, and I want proof. So Don's freaking out. He leaves. We see him make a phone call, and then la-di-da-di-da. Okay, this is important.
Yeah. Please.
David is having dinner in Venice, and it's beautiful.
In like a square, you know, it's all open air.
Mm-hmm. And he's on the phone with Pilar, and they're just having a wonderful time together. And then she's like, I hope that you think of me while you're there. And he's like, I will do nothing but think of you while I'm here. Mm-hmm. And they hang up, and he decides in that moment he's getting an engagement ring. He's going to ask Pilar to marry him. So he goes and finds the most beautiful ring that has so much sentimental meaning. He even has them engrave that day's date on it to prove that, this was not, it was that night, I guess, important conversation. Yeah. He was thinking of her. And then he's walking down the street, and he gets shot.
He just gets shot out of fucking nowhere.
And he hits the ground. And then when he's in the hospital, we are in the head of yet another fucking detective. It's an Italian detective this time. And we find out that none of his valuables were taken. And Lord knows this man had a lot of valuables on him. He had a Rolls Royce. Nope, that's a car. What's that watch?
Yeah, he had a Rolls Royce right on his
right
wrist.
On his wrist.
One of those Rolls Royces. Yeah.
What is that watch? That's gonna bother
It's a Rolex.
me. Oh, okay. I was close.
That's what I'm saying.
So he had, none of his valuables were taken, including the ring, but his briefcase is gone. And so they're like, well, I'll bet you that the Don had something to do with that, because he's fucked off and left. Gina has no idea where he is. And David is stuck in the hospital for a while. Tyler and Sophia end up flying out there to grab him.
Sophia notably on the plane is like, the physical part of our relationship is over. And he's like, okay, we can do that. But, you know, he knows that she's just having a moment. And so then he talks to David, and David's like, don't give up. You keep pushing. Because, nobody's ever pushed back on her. And when she finally decides to be someone's, she's going to be theirs forever. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this whole talk where Tyler is like, Sophia, stop pushing me away. I'm the one who sticks. You date all of these slick men, and they just slide right out the door when you give them a push, but I stick.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck on you. And she's like, fuck off. And so it's all on pause. David gets shipped back to California on some kind of private company jet. And then they get the call that Don has been on the run. And he is now in a Swiss jail. He got caught, and they fly immediately to Switzerland. And she sits down, and she's like, give me everything you know, and I'll make sure that the lawyer will get you lawyers, but you need to be honest with me. And so he ends up caving and telling her everything because, he's fucked otherwise. But little does he know, he's fucked no matter what. Because when he gets extricated, extradited. I was so close.
It's both of those put together. Yeah.
Extricated and expedited. He was extricated and expedited out of the country to a place where he could get sent back to the U.S. And then, he gets murdered in the jail.
He's all dead now. And so then they're like, we have to go. She finds out that they confirm that it was Jerry. So then they go back to New York, and she gets in Jerry's face a little bit, and Chris is there. And Chris is like, I had nothing to do with any murders, and I will not have this on me. And she runs out of the office. And then
no, it was his apartment. They went to Jerry's apartment.
Oh, shit. Yikes.
Uh-huh.
Fine. Yeah. So Tyler is talking to him and telling him what do you think happened and all that kind of thing. And as he is doing that, Jerry takes a swing at him. And at first, Tyler doesn't even move. He just takes it on the chin. And he's still talking to this guy as if nothing happened to him. And then Jerry goes to take another swing. Tyler grabs his fist with his hand and squeezes it and twists. And they hear a twig snap kind of sound. And then he says, tomorrow you better go have that x-rayed. It's probably going to be
I've heard that sound,
broken.
And it's it's horrifying sound.
Ugh.
It's rough. So then they get back to California. we also zippy zap because when David gets home, he's stuck in a sling and everyone's so worried about him. And then he is being fussed over in his house by Pilar and his children. And then he's like, Pilar, don't leave yet, but will you take the tea away for a second? And then he looks at his kids and he's like, I have a question for you. And Maddie's like, yes, you can marry her. And he's like, what? And Theo's like flabbergasted. So Theo's like, what? Where did that come from? And I'm like, Theo, you are so dense.
He's oblivious and I love him. And so he proposes to Pilar.
And he's like, don't think twice about it. Don't think hard about this. I want you. I love you. You're the love of my life. Like, please, for the blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay, fine. I'll do it. Let's do it.
Then they go shopping for wedding dresses. And on the way home, it's Maddie, Pilar, and Sophia. What?
This one's important because
I know it's all important.
Tyler, no, ma'am. We have skipped so much.
Oh, you're right. Tyler and Sophia.
I'm struggling to keep up with you, but this one's important. So they are at the Castello. They're still in Italy, and he sees Sophia get out of the pool, and then he's like, "All right, let's have a business dinner this evening." And he's like, wear something sexy and distracting. And she's like, bet. So she comes out in this beautiful dress. And he had the house staff set up this like candles and wine and like hors d'oeuvres. And I'm just like, that's a normal Giambelli evening, bud.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's normal stuff. I don't know.
I don't know what you can pull out to make it a fancy date night. But like, that's just a normal Giambelli evening. And Macmillan, for that matter. But then he's like, I brought you out here to seduce you. And she's like, what? No, we couldn't. And he's like, oh, but we could.
But if we do it, it means we're together forever, is what he says. He's like, this means more to both of us, and we both know it. And you're going to say it out loud, and then we're going to do it. And then maybe tell you love me. Tell me you love me in Italian, maybe. I think you should do that.
Yes. And so they do. They go upstairs and they have beautiful lovemaking and they say I love you to each other. And it's really beautiful, though. It is, because they do have a conversation where she's like, this is my weakness. I don't want you to walk away from me. Like, I love you or I care about you, and everybody that I like, men that I care about walk away from me. It was really cute. And then
it was beautiful.
Bing boom bong, back to fucking California times.
And now they're wedding shopping. They're wedding dress shopping as a girl squad. And Maddie, we're in her head and she's like, I've never been on a girl day before and I think I'm going to hate it. Oh, wait, I love it because these girls are awesome.
Also, because guess what? A new stepmom is a really great way to get fancy haircuts and lots of baubles and cool jewelry and shoes and clothes. Like, I'm gonna use this. And I was like,
yeah, Maddie, that's how you do it. So then they're driving home on this winding Napa Valley road downhill.
Let me tell you, this is one of my biggest fears because I grew up in the mountains of Southern California. And I still have nightmares about this, even though I would probably be fine if this happened where I live now.
Mm-hmm. We have two different turns on two different roads, but they intersect later on. But we have two of them that are called Dead Man's Curve. Like the winding road that I lived up, we lived 15 miles up this windy ass road.
That's what I was like. I lived it was like a 2,500 foot incline.
Yes.
That happens over the course of like 2 miles where I lived. And it was on the side of a cliff face. Ooh. Then you get up to the plateau and it's fine. But like if you had been, or like any of the little roads actually up on the plateau, you'd have been so fucked.
Yeah.
You'd have been so fucked. So listener, what happens is she goes to brake and the brakes are gone. She tries to pull up the e-brake is gone. Luckily, they are in an automatic transmission, and I did have a thought reading this book. I was like, maybe I need to go back to...
they're in a manual
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
They're in a manual transmission. And I did have the thought after reading, like, after the scene where I was like, maybe I should go back to having a manual transmission. Because Maddie, this brilliant little asshole in the back seat, is like, downshift, down, go down a gear. And so they do. They fucking blow that transmission going from fourth to third, third to second, second to first. And she is driving like a champ. Sophia is, you've missed your calling.
Absolutely. She's doing all of this in a Jeep. So, like, their center of gravity is so high off the ground.
Oh,
terrifying.
God. Terrifying. But they end up stopping, luckily. And the police come out and confirm that, yes, this was intended tampering. And it's like, a fucking course it was intentional tampering.
Yeah.
There was no way it wasn't intentional tampering.
Somebody was trying to murderate you. Congratulations. And man, David and Pilar are so cute because he holds his 14-year-old daughter, Maddie, like a baby, even though he's just been shot in the shoulder. And he's just like rocking her and being like, just let me hold you for a minute. Like, stop it. Just stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Pilar, she walks up to him and she goes, David, our babies. And he's like, no, I just want to look at you for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tyler goes to her because she's still with the Jeep. And they, get together again. And then Tyler's like, you're moving in with me. This has been happening for a minute. This has been happening since Italy. Like, you're moving in with me. And she says, no, I'm old-fashioned in this way. I don't want to live with you. We should get married. And he's like, if you're threatening me with a good time, you better actually ask the question. And she's like, Tyler, will you marry me? And he's like, yes, I absolutely will. So at a dinner at some point, they're celebrating. Is it?
So they're celebrating. I don't remember exactly what they're
before?
celebrating. It doesn't really matter. No, we're not quite there yet. But they're basically having a family dinner and discussing what to do next. And they've agreed that they're going to wait until after her mom's wedding to say anything. And then he just drops the bomb. And he's like, I figured we could all use something happy and cute. And so and then he whips out a
and
ring.
she's so mad at him.
And it's his grandmother's ring.
It's wonderful. So, wow, now we get to be in Renee and Jerry's point of view for a minute. And they both want to take down these Giambellis, but they both think that they're using the other one and being super slick about it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to get another sugar daddy because she doesn't want to, like, figure out how to work. And he wants to stir some shit up and blame it on Renee, essentially.
Yeah.
So he has her take some paperwork into the police and, like, do a whole, like, oh, I'm a widow and I found these things. Blah.
And they don't believe her in the slightest.
Mm-mm.
And so now they're like, okay, now we need to look into Renee and Jerry and see, like, how they know each other. Now, it's the night before Pilar's wedding.
Bachelor party time, bachelorettes.
Yeah, so the ladies are going to have, like, a spa day at the Giambelli Manor Villa thing, and the boys are at Macmillan's, and it was pretty cute. I did love that all of them were smoking cigars and playing poker. And Theo had an unlit cigar in his mouth because he's just a kid, and that was really touching.
And it specifically says he felt very manly
Oh,
with
yeah.
that unlit cigar.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Maddie's having a great time of her life. She's accepted Pilar as her future stepmom. It's just super adorable. And then we find out the dastardly plan is Jerry and Renee are going to light the winery on fire. So everybody runs out to try and stop that. And then they're going to hide something in the back of Sophia's closet. Is it the gun? Mm-hmm. Is that what they're going to hide?
I think it's the gun.
Okay. The gun that shot her father. Because, like, frankly, she had motive.
No.
So, like...
The gun that shot David in Italy. He had it sent back to him. Because 2 guns have to end up there. And he doesn't have the one that shot her father because he didn't shoot her father.
You're right. That makes so much more sense to me. It's the gun that shot David.
David.
And that's how, oh my God, that makes so much more sense.
He had it FedEx to him. Yeah.
I was going to be asking, I had a lot of questions for you at the very end of this book. And you just answered them.
Yeah.
So they are going to hide that gun, I guess, in the back of her, or some other stuff in the back of her. Whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. Whimsy. So, of course, everybody does go running out to check on the winery. And he crawls up into Sophia's room with Renee. And then Sophia comes in the room and turns on the light and launches herself at him like a feral little animal.
She's so mad.
She's clawing, and she just got her nails done, so those are sharp puppies. And she gouges down the side of his face, and then Renee gets knocked out because she's like, oh my God, I didn't sign up for this, Jerry. You can't shoot her, because he's whipped out a gun and he's holding it on Sophia. And he's like, he knocks Renee out, and then he's like, oh, this is going to be perfect. And then he lays out everything. He has his little villain monologue, and then he holds up his gun, and he's like, this is the gun that shot David, and now it's going to be the gun that Renee shoots you with, and you're going to be dead, and I'm going to be scot-free. And then we hear a bang, bang. But don't worry. The blood coming out of anybody is Jerry's. He just got shot in the chest.
The person who's bleeding now is Jerry, listener.
Helen is standing
Helen, the
in the doorway, and she just shot him twice in the chest.
And then she gives the confession of a fucking lifetime, because she looks her, like, you know, basically like Calabash daughter. She looks her right in the face, and she's like, I'm the one who killed your dad. Like, he brought me there to blackmail me. Then Pilar comes in, and she's like, Pilar, I did fuck your husband forever ago, okay? And I'm sorry about that, and I've tried to make up for it.
And Lincoln,
that's how I have Link.
Link
is Tony's son, and he's been blackmailing me periodically since Link was born, because she doesn't want James or Link to find out. And so he brought her to that apartment and tried to blackmail her one more time, and she just like went into a fugue state and shot him. And then like tried to make it so like she tried to just pretend it didn't happen, you know? But then it did really happen, and she's been carrying the gun around since then because she can't get rid of it just in case Pilar or Sophia get blamed. And if they do, she can be like, no, it was me. Here's the weapon. Like, I did it. It was me.
And then
so all of a sudden,
she's like, turn me in. You'll have to turn me in to save this.
We'll talk to the police. And then Sophia is like, everybody listen to me right the fuck now. You did not do this, and you did not do my dad. He did. He came in here to plant both guns in my room. He had both of them. And then when he struggled with me, he dropped one of the guns. And that's when you, Helen, picked it up when you came into the room. And then you shot him before he could shoot me. Self-defense, no problem. And then he also gets pinned for my dad's murder.
And he's dead, so he can't refute it. And it totally makes sense.
Yeah. And it helps because Renee wakes up when the cops get there. And she's like, he's a crazy person, and he brought me here at gunpoint, and I didn't want to come, but now I had to. It's a whole thing.
And then Teresa also gets in on it. And so now the 3 Giambelli women and Helen are the only people who know any of this, and it's going to the grave. They have all decided this is going to the grave. They will tell nobody. And then they're like, well, I'm tired. You should go find your love. He's in the winery. And so Sophia goes gallivanting off to the winery to grab the love of her life. And they have a little kiss, and they're like, we'll rebuild. We'll have a new generation. We also find out at some point that it's officially theirs because Teresa and Eli are retiring as of the first of the year.
They're done with this shit, is what's happening.
Which, like, frankly, they held on a lot longer than I would have.
They're fucking done. They're like, we trust you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
We're going to learn how to pebble from some actual penguins is what we're going to do.
Everyone around us is dying, and we want to be able to spend some of our life together and actually love each other. Bye.
Yeah.
And
Bye.
The end.
The end, listener. Goodbye. Also, to you.
They all live
listener.
happily ever after. Okay. Mel, now that you've pointed it out, I should have Sherlock Holmes. But, like, how would we have Sherlock Holmes?
I didn't.
That Link was...
I didn't. Absolutely not.
I didn't either. But then you pointed out the
there was
shit
that one comment.
That one scene.
Mm-hmm. Where Pilar and Helen talk about how they're basically brother and sister. And then Helen's like, look at my jazz hands over to this other topic. Yeah.
By the way, listener, everything from the bedroom scene with the guns, this all happens in like 8 pages. The end of this book flies in hot and then flies right back out. They don't even stop on that runway. They just land and keep going and then take off again, and it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was bonkers.
All right, Sabrina, what's your lady love? I know what mine is.
Tell us what yours is, Mel.
Mine is Pebbling.
Oh!
I thought that I was a weirdo who was bad at friendship if all I wanted to do, or like all I could do, was send people funny, cute, or like, oh God, what is this? Or like, OMG, look who said what about who, links and pictures and stuff like that. But it turns out it's just a love language that I didn't know about yet. I didn't know it had a name, and it's called Pebbling. And I love being pebbled. I love pebbling. I love all of it. And I have had friends in the past who, like, I don't know. I had one friend who at that time, I guess, felt like it was more my responsibility to, you know, reach out to them. And when we talked later on, they were like, I was like, well, I've been trying. And she's like, you sent me like 2 pictures of your kids. And now I know that I was pebbling because I didn't.
Yeah, you were reaching out. It's just
trying.
That's how you reach out.
Yeah, it just didn't work for that person. Anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's my lady love. You can pebble me anytime, listener. I may not respond though, but I will love you even though, because that's how I pebble. I don't expect a response from you when I send something.
It's okay, listener. I'll pebble Melody back with the stuff you send, because when you send us stuff on like Instagram and Facebook and emails and stuff, I'm the one who ends up looking at it, and I just take a screenshot and I send it on to Mel.
Yeah, I love it. All right, what's your lady love?
Okay, so my lady love is ironically what my other option was for banter earlier at the beginning of the episode.
Ooh.
And it's when you when it's not working anymore, find a new routine that does work. I had a really good chat with my therapist because I've recently had a job transition and I no longer work in an office and I work full-time remote. It's been really hard to transition into work mode in the mornings because and I couldn't figure out what exactly the issue was. Like, what is the problem? And I spent some time talking to my therapist about it, and we realized, she was like, what were your triggers that it was time for work in the past? And I realized it was putting on clothes and leaving the house. I no longer leave the house. And she was like, okay, what can we do to replace leaving the house? You still put on clothes, but like what, you need a second trigger. And and frankly, it's doing my hair and putting a little bit of makeup on. So like because it used to be that I just didn't do, like I didn't worry about my hair and put makeup on or anything like that going into the office, but I needed another trigger moment that's like, all right, this is the second thing that you've done. It's time to go. And so now instead of leaving the house, sometimes I put a little mascara and I do my brows. I do a little bit of lip gloss. And it helped.
I love it. That's so great. Yay. Yeah, I had a friend who worked from home, and when she was having a problem getting in the mood, there was a while where she would wake up and do everything normally, and then she would put shoes on, but then go to her desk in her house. And just having shoes on for some reason triggered that for her. I'm a shoes-off household, but I think if I got a pair of shoes that I only wore in the house, that would be fine.
Or inside house shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not mine because I am in slippers. Because why wouldn't I be in slippers?
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. She was like, I can't be in slippers anymore.
I'm going to put
Yeah.
shoes on. And that worked for her. So anyway.
Yeah, it was
I
just
love it.
interesting, and it just really helped. It just really helped. Sometimes you need another person to look at it and be like, okay, there's triggers for everything. These are habits. So what's your habit? And then we talked it out. And now I just sit at my desk and do a little tappy tap, and I am all dressed up and fancified in a way that I'm not even fancified when I go to concerts. I don't put makeup on ever anymore, but I'm like, a little mascara and I'm ready for work. Let's do this. So anyway,
I love it.
Find your new routine.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Keeping a badass and love yourself as much as you love being taken in by hotties with tattoos.
Yeah. Love yourself that much. This is going to become a whole thing because this is the second episode in which we found out that Sabrina has been swindled. Accidentally.
I'll tell you, I haven't gone back to take 5, and I still haven't gotten around to canceling it.
Sabrina!
Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by Melody Carlisle.
Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, leave a nice review, and of course, tell all your friends about us, even if they don't read romance.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram @heavingbosoms, on TikTok @heaving_bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult.
Head over to our website to sign up for our newsletter, get our Reading Embrace printable, and check out my audiobooks at heavingbosoms.com. All right, we'll be back next week with more swoons and snark. See you then.